that's like almost the secret of success. EKM would not have been able to get to the size it was if we were in central London. You couldn't have afforded to pay the salaries.
Welcome to the Insights of Everything podcast. Today I've got Antony Chesworth, so welcome, thank you very much. And I'm going to sort of not describe you, but I'm going to take a few pointers from you and from your own website to say. So, Antony Chesworth, dad of three.
Yes.
Entrepreneur and investor, the founder of EKM, business vlogger, pilot and keynote speaker.
Yeah.
Right, pretty much that. Right, I'm going to mention other things that you might find a bit cringy. So you did win Daily Mail Entrepreneur of the Year award in 2010.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, a while ago, yeah.
Businessman of the Year. Right,
yeah.
E-commerce business of the year and young entrepreneur of the year. Right, did you go to all those things and did you accept them?
Yes, we did actually. I remember the Daily Mail one though. That went on for quite a long time to the point where I was about to, because it was like in London, it went on for hours and hours and hours and hours, and we were about to leave actually. And my wife said, "Oh no, just stay around." Yeah. Because you never know, there might be a few other awards, and that's when we won it.
Really?
So yeah, we would have. Yeah.
That would have been interesting. And the winner is. Is he here?
He's gone.
He's gone.
He's gone.
So they didn't tell you before, did
No, exactly. They don't. Well, they don't, do they, a lot of these business awards? I think people go thinking they know they've won, that's why they've gone, but the vast majority have no idea.
Oh, right, okay, well, that's interesting.
So,
yeah. Oh, cool. And then the last bit here, I've got a bit about, I've called it under philosophy, but make sure you spend life doing something you love. Yeah. Now, I think that's quite close to your heart and something that you've always tried to do throughout your career and throughout whatever you developed or involved into, and I think you will hopefully allude to it in some of the stories you're about to tell us. But my first question, hopefully, which sparks the conversation, is sort of 2000. Now, were you a hospital porter?
Yes, yes. The timing is a bit odd. If you've heard me speak and stuff, I do this story about I was a hospital porter, and the timings doesn't always match up 100% to 2000. But I was a hospital porter when before I went to university, so when I was about, I think it must have been about 15, 16, 17, that kind of age, before university. I had a job at the Burnley General Hospital, pushing a trolley around in all the wards, selling sweets and toiletries and things like that to the people on the wards. And you'd go doing this job, pushing this trolley around and speaking to people that were ultimately end of life. And you go in on a Saturday and do your rounds, and you go back in on a Sunday, and people had disappeared. They'd gone, and it wasn't because they got better. It's because they died. And even when you were pushing this trolley around, people would die on the wards while you were there. And obviously they did separate it off, and they'd hold you back while they were sorting everything out. But for a 17-year-old lad, it's death. Well, death is a bizarre thing, isn't it? It just is. It's a strange thing. And the thing that always set with me doing that job was that when you spoke to these people that were at end of life, they all said the same things, which were to not have any regrets and to make sure you spend life doing something that you love. And that's where that kind of came from, really, this idea that most people don't do something that they love. Most people follow a very rigid path. They go to school, they go to college, they go to university to get a job that they don't like, but it pays well because it pays for the mortgage that they trap with, the cars, the Sky TVs, the mobile phones, and they follow a set path because that's a path that everyone else has set for them, and they go through life thinking that you're not supposed to like work. You see it with people all the time. You see people on a Monday morning, you'll see it looking out. Here in Leicester on a Monday morning, people walking into office looking really gloomy and miserable, and then on a Friday skipping out of the office all really happy, and it's because they used to say that they don't enjoy work. It's work. The word work, homework, hard work, it's work. And it shouldn't be like that because you spend most of your life at work. Now, whether that's these days working in an office or working from home, that thing that you're doing, you should still love what you do because it's about the journey. And I think this is where most people go wrong. I think they think it's about the reward. So most people sit in this trap hating what they do because one day, if they're really, really lucky, they'll get to retirement, and when they're old and decrepit and can't be bothered getting up, and they've probably got incontinent pants on, all this sort of stuff, just then, maybe if they're really lucky, then they'll be able to do something that they love and have fun. And yet they've just pissed away all them years of their life doing something that they've hated. And that's where that comes from, really.
Do you find it's a saying that's easier said than done with the weight of the world that around, especially now?
I think it's easier. No, No, I don't actually. I think people can say that. It's easy. It's easy. I don't think it is. I think everyone has a passion. I think everyone will find something they actually love to do, and everyone can have a job that they love to do, or something that they are passionate about, that they enjoy. Now, you don't have to enjoy every single part of it, but you should go through life enjoying what you do, because that's like almost the secret of success. When you look at anyone who's achieved anything in their life, it's because they've loved what they're doing. They love the journey. So I sometimes talk about, and I'm not big into sports or anything like that, but you talk about sports people like Tiger Woods or whatever, or David Beckham, all these people at the top, top of the game at the time, and you go, well, these people have got like exceptional talent and gifted individuals and all this, and it's all bollocks. They're not gifted individuals. None of them are. All they've done is they've found something they've loved to do, which in the case of Tiger Woods was out hitting a golf ball in all weathers. It doesn't matter what it was. When all his friends had gone home because they got fed up because of the weather, he stayed out there hitting that golf ball because he loved what he did. Yeah. And because he loved what he did, he practiced and practiced and practiced, got better and better at it, and became the Tiger Woods that we know. Yeah. And it's the same with people in business. It's the same in any job or any career. They talk about that 10,000 hour rule or whatever. Right. This idea that you've got to do 10,000 hours at anything to become an expert at it. But you can't do 10,000 hours at something that you don't enjoy. No. You've got to love what you do.
Yeah. Well, you often hear that analogy in sport, especially. It's, well, why is Ronaldo? Well, he stayed behind every practice for an hour and a half, and you hear it. Look, Lampard's, all of them. It's a common thread, and I'm sure it's the guy that before Andy Turner was alluding to. It's that he stayed until he grew up working from 5 in the morning to 10 at night. So when he went into a dealership, that it was weird that they opened at 9 and finished at 5.
Yeah.
So
but Andy, like probably most people you've had on this podcast, most business owners, you can see it's in them. They're passionate about it. They love it. They absolutely love it. Like I do. I love business. They absolutely love it. Same as pick any top people in any industry. They absolutely love it. And that's what. Why would you want to go through life not achieving that, or even looking for it? Because some people may not have the opportunities. There's people born in different parts of the world, and people have different opportunities. But you should go looking for it. You shouldn't just accept the status quo. Just accept the fact that you've been told that you're not supposed to enjoy work. You're not supposed to like this. You're not supposed to like that. It's all right to be miserable and not to have much of an existence. We all deserve to have the best life we can possibly have. We only get one go at this.
True. I suppose. Do you think now more than ever with the internet age, it's easier to do that now?
Well, yeah. This is when you were saying it's easy for me. I think it is. I think you've got more opportunities now than ever.
Well, it's certainly easier now than it was in 2000.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. I remember watching a talk once with someone, and they were saying, it's harder than ever now for young people to have the opportunities that we've had. Like someone's like a boomer generation type person, and I'm thinking, it's easier than ever. Yeah. Any of us now could set a business up. Any of us could. We could literally set up an online shop, start selling. We could go onto eBay, onto Etsy. We can order products from anywhere in the world. We can get branded products printed. Yeah. We can do all sorts of things. Yeah. And you can do it all from while you sat watching Love Island or whatever on your phone. Do you know what I mean? It really is easy now. Yeah,
it is.
It really is easy. And I think where we've gone wrong is that people, again, being drummed into them, it's too hard work, it's too high risk, and you watch these business programs like The Apprentice or Dragon's Den and stuff, which I enjoy watching, but they make out that like you've got to have a unique idea and something, and you don't at all. You've got to just improve what's already there.
So I find those shows cringeworthy. More to the people more than anything
else. The people. Well, it's an entertainment show, isn't it?
Well, it's not really a business show.
No, but there is no business shows. No. Other than going on YouTube these days, there isn't business shows. It's entertainment, and that's what everything is. It's entertainment, and sadly, in this day and age, we like bad news. We like misery. We like negativity. That's what sells. You see that in the media. You see that in the newspapers. So it's no surprise that in business TV shows, it's negativity that sells. It's you want someone to, you're fired, shouting at them as to why you're a loser and why you're a waste of space. The positive stories of someone doing really well and what a good idea. Isn't that really good logo they've done, isn't that? That's not interesting. You want to see them bickering.
No, you know full well behind the scenes, that'll make good TV.
Yeah. They want it, don't they? You see, all these programmes you watch, if there's nothing exciting happening, they'll fuel them with a bit of alcohol and let them have a night out, just have some arguments.
Of course.
That's what you want to watch.
Well, Made in Chelsea, all of those.
All of them, yeah. Below Deck.
Below Deck.
That's what we've been watching, Below Deck Mediterranean.
Well, even if you hark back to the not the start of reality TV, because I remember things like MTV where they had. That's when they had that one. I can't remember what it's called. I can't remember what it's called now. But that was the first putting 7 people in a flat in New York. And
I can't
all
remember
that.
what it's called.
But it's a sort of X Factor. I remember sitting there when I used to watch it with my wife, and they'd wait for the cringy moments, the ones that couldn't sing, rather than the ones that could sing, because that made better TV.
Yeah, well, it does, doesn't it? It does. And it's what are you teaching people? There's an interesting one that it's a bit of a conspiracy theory, but it's supposedly it is accurate. You can look it up. That TikTok. So TikTok, you've probably heard of this, but TikTok in China, it's a Chinese company that owns it, ByteDance. And in China, the things that rank in China are really positive things. So there are things like people doing really good engineering projects or doing businesses, being successful in sports, being successful in business, being successful in life. It's positive things. And that's what gets the comments, the likes. Yeah. It ranks in the algorithm. And that's what, if you want to do well on TikTok, that's what you're posting up, positive stuff. In the Western world, like the UK, it's people doing dumb stuff. Yeah. It's people falling downstairs. It's people doing silly things. It's stupid things. And that might be because that's what we all want to watch and we find that entertaining. Yeah. Or the conspiracy side of it is that if you were China and you were trying to think in terms of decades, in terms of like global domination, what would the easiest thing to do? Well, it would be to educate your people that the clever stuff, the intelligent stuff, the stuff that's going to get your nation doing well is positive. That's what you should be sharing. For all the other nations, it's dumb stuff. You want to be dumb, you want to be thick, you want to be doing stupid stuff. Focus your effort on these pointless things and think about that. Yeah. And that's the way it's gone, isn't it? It's whether it's by design, whether it's just because that's what we want, or
I'm not sure many people are thinking it when they're just doing that with their phones when they're at home, are they?
No.
But even TikTok's evolved slightly. I mean, I think 2 years ago it was all teenagers doing this. Now, of course, they're monetizing it and etc. They'll do whatever they do. Same with the others, but it's sort of changing slightly, but only probably because of like Facebook. We are probably the Facebook generation, right? And then you've got the the generations just grow. So there'll be a new platform that does the dumb stuff in 5 years' time because there's a new generation of teenager that wants to do it in the metaverse too or whatever that might be. That's what's it's interesting, but you know. As a dad of 2 young kids, I'm also worried about it, the future. But you're right. You're right to a degree about. I always thought America was a land of opportunity, and that's and they celebrate nice things, whereas here we don't tend to celebrate nice things. And I suppose with that, it's not particularly controversial. But I stopped watching the news in the last 2 years because it's just depressing.
It's really depressing.
Very depressing. Yeah. Right? And where is the good stuff?
There is no good stuff. No, it's fear that sells. Yeah. Fear sells.
We'll park in that for the moment. Yeah. So you're doing your trolley round.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Back to Trolley.
Back to that.
We went off on a bit of a tangent there.
Yeah, we did. That's fine. I'm sure there wasn't at one moment. It was probably lots of people you met. You probably met some amazing people during your time doing that. The consistency of them telling you the same thing has then decided. So I've got down sort of. You talk about 2002 maybe being the year, right? And starting EKM, but I'm really interested in what was your first iteration of it versus the second and third, and how quickly did they change? Because sorry to interrupt, but it's the start of you've had the .com boom to a degree in the 90s, and then we're coming into the noughties. I'm quite interested in the platform you might have used at that point, or what software did you use?
So after I finished pushing my trolley around. It was before it must have been actually, think about it, it must have been around college time when I was pushing it would have been, wouldn't it, like 17, 18 you go to university. So when I was at college, at Accrington College, I was always into computers. I think my granddad bought me an Acorn Electron when I was 11.
Right.
And I just loved it. I loved computers. So you had to load them on a cassette deck and all this sort of stuff. And the fact that you could actually program the computer to do what you wanted it to do, I loved it. I was mesmerised by it. The other thing that I always enjoyed doing when I was a kid was making things like magazines and things. You'd make a magazine and then I'd convince my dad to go and photocopy it at work and stuff. And I got a real buzz off watching people enjoy something that I'd made. And so when I saw computer programming and things like that, they were kind of like, this is great. You can actually make stuff and then people can play it or they can use it. And that, I suppose, is the spark that's kind of set me off on my entrepreneurial journey in terms of being able to create stuff, because I was really into computers. And so around that time when I was at college and pushing this trolley around, I did start to do stuff that I loved doing, which was programming and stuff. And it was around the time, so this would have been early 2000s kind of a thing, where the internet was really starting to take off and stuff. It was like the dot-com boom, like 2000.
Yeah.
So while I was at college and stuff, and you could make your own websites. So like, do you remember GeoCities and things like that, and Hotmail when that first came out? Because I remember like when we first found Hotmail, it was like, this is cool because if I've got a Hotmail email, I can set up a GeoCities website. Yeah. So I learned how to do HTML programming and all that sort of stuff.
Do you still have your first Hotmail email address?
I don't think. Maybe I do.
Do you know what it might have been?
Yes, I do know what it is. Yeah, I think I've still got it. Yeah, DJ Chesworth at hotmail.com. You can email me on it.
Everybody's first one was always something stupid.
Something random, yeah. DJ Chesworth at hotmail.com. I don't check it, so if you do it on I'm not going to see it. I set up a website on GeoCities, and I learned how to program HTML. At the same time, at college, I was doing programming, which I enjoyed. And so I set up a website called the Programmer's Vault, which was a website that would teach you how to program. And it actually got quite popular for back then. It had quite a lot of views, and there was an American programming magazine called Dr. Jobs Journal. Right. I don't think I've ever told this story anyway, really. Okay. They approached me and said, look, we'd like to sponsor the website. If you called it Dr. Jobs Programmer's Vault, we'd pay you like so much a month. I can't remember what it was, but back then it was a lot of money. Yeah. For me then, it might have been like £300 or £400 a month, which as a student, this is bad. It was a lot of money. Yeah. And I thought, this is awesome, is this? And so I did that, and through learning to do websites and things, I started doing websites for like local businesses and things. So because it was like pocket money, and it worked more than pocket money. You get a couple of £1,000 doing it. Yeah. And so when I went to Lancaster University, so this is before EKM kind of started, I'd apply for jobs. There'd be jobs for like people to go and work on a website. Yeah. And so I'd go to these job interview, like this kind of a thing. I'd go to a job interview and I'd just say, look, come to the job interview. I'm not interested in working for you because I don't think you want to employ anyone to do this, because I think it's just daft, because they'll be incentivized to drag it out. They'll take forever to do it. I'll do it as a contractor. I'll build it for a set fee. And I used to get a few websites. Right. Did like the university's travel website and things like that.
I don't think that's actually changed over time. People still do exactly that.
Oh yeah. At the time, though, no one else was doing it, because I remember my colleagues, my friends on the hall at university, they'd have to go and work in Spa for like all week, turn a few £100, whereas I were earning a couple of £1,000 for a few days, a few nights work kind of a thing. And so I'd already known how to do websites and things like that. And so I then, after university finished, I wanted to pretend to be a student for another 12 months. So I moved into a student house with my friends. Right.
You weren't quite done with the lifestyle, no?
No, I enjoyed university. Yeah. And we used to do things like DJ nights and things like that, yeah.
Hence
DJ Chesworth, DJ Chesworth, I was like DJ. And
free for weddings, bar mitzvahs.
I used to do it. Yeah, mobile. So I used to have a little Citroen Saxo, and you couldn't fit everything in the back of the car. You used to have to do 2 trips. It was a nightmare. But I wanted to pretend to be a student for another 12 months, so I stayed up there, and I had to admit defeat and get a job. So I got a job at a local internet service provider, right? And I work on customer services. It was my highest paid job I've ever had, £12,500 a year. Still is my highest paid job I've ever had. And I was doing technical support, helping people set up their emails and things like that. And it was around that time when I started to get a lot of phone calls from people who were trying to set up an e-commerce website. And at the time, this is like 2002-ish kind of a thing. No, it was maybe like 2000 actually, 2001. The only way you could set up an e-commerce website was you paid a web designer to build your bespoke e-commerce system, which would cost tens of thousands of pounds. That's still an option today. The issue with that is, well, the good thing is you get a bespoke website perfectly for you and it looks perfect. The bad thing is, though, as soon as that designer's finished, he's off over the hills onto his next job, and you're left with a website that's going out of date. Correct. And you don't know how to use it or how to work it, and so you end up in trouble. The other option at the time was you could buy some software that came in a box on a CD.
No way.
Yeah, and you'd install it on your computer, and then you'd have to install it onto a web server and set up an SSL certificate. Yeah. And that's what I used to have to help people do. And I had to go with this software, and I thought, this is ridiculously hard work to use. Ridiculously. How could my mum if you want to set up a business, do this. You know, I've just got a computer science degree from Lancaster, and I was struggling with it.
Yeah.
How would anyone else be able to do it? So that was kind of like the Eureka Moment, really. It was kind of like, well, with all my knowledge of programming websites, surely I could build a tool that ran through the internet. So you didn't need software. You could run it through a web browser, which of course we're used to that these days. Back then, that was fairly new. There was no one doing software through the internet. And I thought, I could probably build something here. So I did. I started programming it in. I left my job. Thought I'd make my millions of pounds and all happy days. It didn't work because I had no money. I couldn't market it. I couldn't get any customers. And so I had to go and move back with my mum and dad in Burnley. And I had about 4 years on the dole and credit card debt. But these are like the good old days when you used to be able to ring up like Mint and Capital One and just tell them that you earned 100 grand with a company car, and they give you a massive limit.
Right.
They give you, so I think I amassed about £40,000 off a credit card debt, job seekers allowance, and I had 4 years of that building what would become EKM.
Yeah.
And I had 4 years, and eventually after 4 years, I managed to start getting a couple of customers on, and it's slowly built up over those 4 years.
And that was EKM version 1.
Version 1, yeah, because it's funny because it took me a lot longer than what I thought. Like I said, it was about 4 years, because I remember it's 4 years because one of the guys that I work with at this company in Lancaster, I said to him, I'm going to set my own business up, and I'll come and rescue you, and I'll be back to get you in about a year. And it was like nearly 4 years later, and I remember 4 years later saying to him, look, I've got 100 customers now, all paying me $19.99 a month. Do you want to come and join me? And he did. And then from then on, it just kind of it just slowly grew, and like that snowball effect took over, and it grew and grew and grew.
So what? Obviously, you mentioned that. So he was probably your first employee, right? And obviously you've had some history with him, right? So how did you feel? Because you blood, sweat, and tears for 4 years, having somebody else have some part of the control that you had. Was it easy or was it challenging? And
I needed the help because what I was doing everything. So I was at the time I was having to program in the system, do the marketing, do the bits of sales, do the customer service as a technical support, manage the servers, do the billing, everything myself, which I think is important because even right to the end before I left EKM, I kind of knew how to do everything in the business. But it was too much. I couldn't physically do it, and actually supporting the 100 customers that I had was stopping me from developing to bring on the next 100 customers. So it kind of worked because he had a very specific role. He was actually helping me out by taking some of the burden that I had off me to free me up, as it were. Because I think too many times when you speak to people, they can do it the opposite way. They employ people to do the bits that they enjoy, that they're good at. And so it ends up where the owner of the business ends up just focusing on stuff that they don't like.
Yeah.
You see that quite a lot, so they end up focusing on doing the accounts, and it's like, do you even like accounts? No, so why didn't you get someone to do the bits you didn't like?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah. And
so, no, it worked quite well.
And was that then would you say a rapid rise? And my question is, we talk about, and I do it today because I'm weirdly obsessed with TikTok for some strange, I don't know why, but it causes many a rift today in my household. But I look for those business bits, and there's obviously a lot of business, and I always send it to Paul a lot of times about different things, and people talk about scale.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think you for one moment probably started your business thinking, how am I going to scale this to? Well, you may have done it in dreams to a multi-million deal business, and I'm sure Paul's not everything branded, right? But it becomes a question or becomes something you think about later down the line if you have some success. But what was your first idea of how could I make? At what point do you go, right, this can be bigger than what it currently is? Because some people are quite happy. 100 customers, brilliant.
Yeah, it's funny on that because you don't want to sound insincere, or I don't know. I'm very privileged and I'm very lucky to have achieved what I've achieved, but I've always wanted more. Even at the end, even today, I was never happy with the business. I always thought it could do more. Every day's always felt like that. I could always. I feel the same today as I did day one of building it. That it could be so much more. It could be so much better. It should be. So I've always wanted to expand it. I've always, like, when you go over to. I've been fortunate enough to be invited over to places like Google in California and things like that. And when you go around their offices and PayPal's and all these other companies, and you see me with the fake green grass and all this sort of stuff. You're like, wow, wow, what would it take to build a business that big? That's always been my ambition, to build something like that, that big. So I don't think there was never an issue that I didn't want to grow it, because I actually struggled for a long time, because obviously EKM mainly dealt with small and medium-sized businesses, and it took me a long time to understand why, when you were speaking to small business owners, why they didn't want to grow it. Like, why didn't want to be a multimillionaire? Why didn't want to grow it to having millions of employees and this, that, and the other, and all the world domination. And it took me a long time to sort of understand that myself, because I was like, why would you not want to be the best you could possibly be and keep growing? So yeah, so I never thought it couldn't be big.
No. And did you put at any one point? So you wanted to grow the business, perfect. But did you see where you could grow? At what point did you grow the business? Was it just offering the same solution all the time, and you had a few bits on, or was there? Were the point we know what we need to now offer a different type of service? It
was just because it was the beauty of SaaS, like software as a service, was once I built. I think where everyone else went wrong in that day and age was they were building websites. So like I was earlier on, that's why that's what is critical to my story, really. That I don't often talk about, but most people were building a website like a bespoke, like a design agency. They were building a website, boom, done, starting from scratch for the next one, boom, done, starting from scratch. Like everyone was from scratch. And it was kind of like, because there's more money in it, but it was kind of like, you don't need to do that. So all we did is we built one online shop, and it was the same system again and again and again. It was copying and pasting, and of course there's no cost in doing that.
No.
And so we knew by running the model that every customer we got, they'd be paying us $19.99 a month. And so it's fairly easy to work it out. When you put it on a big spreadsheet, you can easily see, well, if we get 1,000 customers on this, and then that... And that's when, but that's back then, like software as a service. We didn't even have a name. It weren't called software as a service. It was a website.
Yeah.
These days, there's a full industry around SaaS.
Yeah.
And you've got all these metrics like your churn and your average customer value and all this sort of stuff. All the MMR and all this stuff. There's loads of them. There's big conferences about it now. Back then, there wasn't.
No. And do you think? What you mentioned the word world domination. Do you if you think now like Shopify?
Yes.
Right. You were before Shopify, right? So is Shopify just a modern version of what you had, or is it a better solution than what you had, do you think? Or did they were they a bit more Richard Branson like, and they just marketed their
well, they were very good at marketing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you can come up with all different things. I mean, in business, the measure of success is how much money you've made. So by definition, they are massive. So by definition, yes, they're obviously more successful. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I think for a start, the American tech scene enabled companies like Shopify to run for, I think, for 10, 15 years nearly, with making losses. Billions upon billions of dollars of losses. Now, you in the UK, you go and speak to NatWest Bank or Barclays Bank or somewhere and say, I want to set a business up and I'm going to run billions. You get laughed out. It just wasn't that way in the UK. It didn't work that way. It's idea of raising money and running up losses. It didn't work. And from a timing perspective, they timed it well. They could raise the money. They could expand the business. I think you've been able to do that now. It's become the standard way of doing it. You raise loads of money. I think now the world's changing, as we're seeing these companies that are now loss-making or in serious difficulties. I think Made.com went only the other day. I think Next's buying it, aren't they? They're all struggling. So I think there's always an element of timing. There's always an element of timing and looking at everything, of course there is. But I think Shopify, certainly, what they did is phenomenal. In time is right. So with that question, and I asked Paul this before you came, and he says he's asked you this before. With the value of hindsight, which is always a wonderful thing, would you have gone to America and done it there? And the second part of the question is, do you think you ever needed to move from Preston? They're good question. I mean, you're never going to...
talent.
From talent and stuff. Yeah. I'll never know, will I? No. I'll never know. I think you speak to enough people who have taken the businesses out of the UK into America, and then they've absolutely gone massive, because there's a different ethic out there. There's a different work ethic. I think the UK the UK is an amazing place to be, and I love the UK. But there are elements where you see the socialism type stuff. We're not as bad as Europe. Europe's very socialist. The UK is a bit that way. They don't like people doing that well, and there's a lot of barriers. I mean, you think of a business. I mean, these days, I mean, even EKM, but any business on the high street, like a small business, you've got business rates which are astronomical. You've got VAT, which you're paying VAT on every sale that you're making. You've got corporation tax that's only going up. You've got employers' national insurance, employees' national insurance. You've got so much. You've got digital sales tax now when you're paying for any online marketing. It's tax. It's literally take everything from you, and that's a popular thing to do. You can't hire and fire people like you want to do. You hire someone, it's very difficult to get rid of them. Raising money is really difficult. It's a very challenging environment. That's why anyone who sets a business up has got my utmost respect. I do. I'd do anything to help them. I'm there to serve them, to help them. You look at America, it's a different environment. They encourage it. They encourage entrepreneurship. They celebrate failure. They celebrate raising money. It's a lot more business friendly environment. I feel like it is, even though some of their taxes are quite high in certain areas. And I think that had we moved it to America, could it have gone bigger? I think it probably could have done, yeah.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't change anything, because I think going back to those old people, when I'm pushing that trolley around, they said do something you love. They also said not to have any regrets, and I don't regret anything. I've been very fortunate to love what I do, and I love my life. I love my family. I love everything about it, and so I wouldn't change anything. No.
But would you do it again?
Would I do it again?
Yeah.
The same journey?
Well, it's like anything, if you told a young Antony what you knew now, then we'd all be millionaires, Rodney, or whatever, wouldn't we? But would you, if you had the energy and the appetite to do the same thing again, given the fact you could accelerate it probably a lot quicker than you do now?
Yeah.
Would you do it? Would you consider doing it somewhere else?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah,
I think I probably would.
Yeah.
I think the world's changed now, hasn't it? Where you have to employ people, what you have to do, and I think as you get wiser to business and geopolitical events and macro events, you start to see how the world works a lot more. And like what you were alluding to earlier about not watching the news and stuff, the world can be a crazy place, but it is full of opportunities. And I think you've got to decide at all points, but back Antony back in 2000 or Antony now, you can either decide to watch all this fear mongering and negativity of reasons why you can't, why you shouldn't, why you won't, or you just think, what, sod it, let's just crack on and make the best of what we've got. So yeah, I think I would do it again.
Yeah.
I'm not planning on to. I've said I'm having a few months off.
Yeah. A few months or a few years.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. At least 6 months off.
Yeah.
I want some time off.
Yeah.
And I also, it's also, I said earlier about how I never understood. I really struggled to understand why people with small businesses didn't want to grow and scale them. And it took me a long time to understand that. And I think back now, after 20 years of doing EKM, of when the best times were. And the best times were those early days when it was smaller, when you like a bunch of you all on a mission together, and you all knew each other. You spent your spare time together. You did things together. You all knew what everyone were doing. You could all communicate in one room. You were in one little room. You all knew what was going on. And those, looking back, were the best days in terms of loving what you do.
Yeah.
As it gets bigger, and you have more process, more systems in place, you start to see people who work with you you've never spoken to, or you don't really know them.
Yeah.
That is a very different beast then at that point.
So what did it get to at EKM at the height?
88 people at the end.
Okay. Right.
88 people, and I think at the peak it we're doing about 500 million, so half a billion of revenue we're running through it,
right,
which are massive.
Yeah.
As
well, the reason why, especially to being in Preston, right?
Yeah.
But because traditionally, success stories come out of London or Manchester or Silicon Valley, don't they? Right? And I remember from my early days in digital marketing, when I worked for Amazon, for example, and we were in Slough, right? And the constant question was, why are we in Slough? Well, it was cheap to start there.
Yeah.
You know, but we couldn't recruit because we were competing against your Apples and your Googles who are in central London. So it was like a ticking time bomb. How quickly are you going to move in? And I remember taking the job there knowing that in 12 months' time we're moving to London, because there's no way I'd live in necessarily Slough, for example.
Yeah.
With the commute, certainly I lived in East London at the time. It took me 2 hours each way, which was crazy. But that's only because, you know, like anything, recruitment is a crazy world at the moment with recruitment. And even here, we're trying to recruit certain skills and we just can't get it. We just can't find it. I don't know where they are.
No.
Right? Whether you'd find it in London, I don't know. We're having the same problem, but it was just interesting because I think you're probably a proud Northerner.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you wanted to stay there, and you didn't want to do that.
We'd have stayed in Burnley. So I'm from Burnley originally, which is only half an hour down the road from Preston, and we would have stayed in Burnley. But at the time when we were expanding, because we originally set up in Burnley, that's where I originally lived. As we were expanding, we needed bigger offices, and I remember, again, it's this ethos of being wanting entrepreneurship. And so I remember I reached out to a couple of the local councils. I reached out to Blackburn, to Burnley, to Preston, all these places, like asking, like, is there any incentives for small businesses like us? You know, we're expanding. There's 15 of us. We're probably expanding to 40, 50 people. Is there any incentive for us to come to your area, buy an office there, and come to your area? And the people, the councils, what sort of incentive? Like what? So like anything, like whether it's a business rate reduction or just an incentive for us to be there. No, don't do anything like that. There's no help at all, no encouragement at all, and so and everything again was against you. We were originally in similar to where you guys are, but we didn't have a car park. That were in the town centre, and again everything's against you. You got traffic wardens everywhere. There's nowhere to park. And it forces you out. And so these towns slowly die through the people in the council slowly killing them. And so we slowly moved more to out of town type offices. We moved further and further, sort of westbound down the M65, more towards like Blackpool way. They're going that way across the country. But we moved from Burnley to Blackburn, and then eventually we moved to Preston. So we moved slowly more that way, and it was purely based on the facilities that we had. And actually, Preston is actually really good. It's a city. It's got really good infrastructure, and again, EKM would not have been able to get to the size it was if we were in central London. You couldn't have afforded to pay the salaries. No. It's as simple as that. You couldn't have done it. It would have crippled you. Yeah. That and the business rates and the taxes. How people do it, I have no idea.
Well, they operate on a different level, maybe. Maybe,
yeah, or maybe it's just all debt funded, and
exactly.
Yeah, it's a different model, isn't it?
So, over those years, I've got here. I mentioned to you earlier before we started this, the stat of one in every 5 online shop is powered by. Now that must be a proud moment, proud stat, and I know you did allude to the fact it's a bit of marketing, but it's still, a nice thing to have. So I'm sure you had lots of proud moments in the journey, but what was your proudest moment, that first customer, or was it 100 customers? Because just talking to you about wanting more and more and more, they probably would have changed over time, but maybe it was those milestones.
Yeah, it's really hard, isn't it? Because I think as an entrepreneur, and I was there was a thread on LinkedIn actually talking between Paul from Everything Branded and Andy Turner, who's just been on, and we're talking about like can an entrepreneur ever be happy?
Yeah.
And yes, they can. I'm ecstatic. I am. You might not be able to tell from my face, but I'm ecstatic. Yes, you can be happy. Of course, you can be happy. Can you be content?
Wow.
And that's
a $1 million question.
Yeah, and I think an entrepreneur can't. I don't think you can. I think it's like the entrepreneur's curse, because you always want more. You always want more. So when you do it, these milestones, you're straight onto the next thing. You're onto the next thing. You're never happy with it because you want to keep on growing it. And I think, well, what's the alternative? Because the alternative to that is, yes, you should, and I'm the first one to stand up and say you should take a step back every so often and look at what you've accomplished and celebrate it and pat yourself on the back, because you should. But if there wasn't that drive to always be being better, where would the world be? I mean, there's the book in the Eckhart Tolle where it's called The Power of Now. I don't know if you've ever read it. It's the audio book's horrendous. But that's all about just enjoying the now. And this guy enjoyed the now so much that I think he's in San Francisco somewhere, just sat on a park bench for 2 weeks, just enjoying the now because of how lucky we are. You know, I mean, look at where we are. Look at what we've got. You know, we've got lighting, we've got health, we've got everything. We've got everything we need. You know, we're living lives way better than any king or queen from a few hundred years ago. So we've got everything, haven't we? But if we just went, we've got everything, we're happy, there'd be no progress made. Right. You'd never been bothered with internet. We don't need internet. We've got newspapers. We're happy with them. But you'd never progress as a human race. So you do need people like that. You know, we were talking earlier off camera about Elon Musk and people like that. These people, regardless of what you think about them, they are pushing the human race forward because of how they are. And that's what entrepreneurs do. And that's why we need entrepreneurs. You need to encourage them. You need to do everything possible for them, not vilify them. Because it's very easy to vilify these people. But these are people that are actually driving the human race forward. They're employing people. They're paying taxes. Because people, Elon Musk or Antony Chesworth, whatever it is, it's like, you're paying taxes. You said these businesses are poor with everything branded. You're paying taxes. That tax money goes to fund all those public services. It goes to fund everything that the government spends. So you're doing a massive service to the world and to the community. You really are. You don't think like that because you never take a step back to appreciate it. No. And so when I look back, there are key moments like customer number one. Yeah, of course I'd have been ecstatic. I would have been ecstatic. I can't remember it because I'd have gone when customer 2 now and customer 3 and customer 4. I remember when the first time the company had £1 million in the bank account. I took a screenshot of it because it was like, wow, you know what I mean? A lad from Burnley. £1 million in the bank. The only way you're going to do that is probably being a drug dealer or something. It's like to have £1 million in the bank. It was amazing achievement. But you're kind of on to the next thing. So I always remember, being a lad from Burnley, like you'd watch, the thing that always motivated me, we talk about milestones and things, at the time was always cars. It was always cars. Because you'd sit and watch Top Gear, and watch Jeremy Clarkson driving around in like his Ferraris and Lamborghinis and things, and like you'd watch it, and again you'd be kind of told from people around you and stuff that like, you watch these things, but they're not for you, not people like you. You're not going to drive around in Ferrari in Burnley. And like, why? Yeah. Why shouldn't they be for people like me? Why can I not have a Ferrari if I want a Ferrari? And of course we all can. If you work your arse off, you can have a Ferrari. And actually, when you see that Ferrari, if someone going flying past, and they have to cut to the scene of a Ferrari going past. When you see that Ferrari going past, you can think of one or two things, and sadly, most people will think wanker. Yeah. But for those people that actually think, wow, what a nice car, I'd love to have one of them. How can I get one? That's inspiring. So you're actually driving around in a Ferrari, you're doing kind of a civil duty. You're inspiring people in the local area, because that's how I would have felt as a kid. If I saw something like that go past, I'd be like, wow, what do you have to do to get one of those? What do you have to be to get one of those things? And that's what I always did it through with, at the time, was cars and things. So I could do the milestones based on cars. I got myself a Lotus Elise when the business started doing all right. Nice. Then a Porsche 911. Had the rattling windscreen door, I used to drive around at Twist. Then an Aston Martin V8 Vantage. Then I had your Ferraris and things like that. Yeah.
So you got your Ferrari? Yeah,
I got my Ferrari. I had two. In the end. Yeah, two. A couple of Aston Martins. And I really enjoyed them. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, actually. I think, again, when you talk about the difference between the UK and America, in the UK, we're embarrassed about talking about money. We are. Even me talking on this podcast about cars, you think people are going to watch this going, oh, fucking showing off that he's got. It's like, I'm not. But if you have something that you like, there's nothing wrong with having that desktop wallpaper on your computer of a car that you want, or of a dream house or a dream holiday. Yeah. It might be climbing a mountain, it might be having a family. Whatever that thing is for you, there's nothing wrong with that. But yet, in our world, it's like, oh, it's vile, is that? You shouldn't be. Do you know what I mean? And it's not right, is it?
No, not really, right? No. I don't think so. I'm trying to something going around my head, because I've got my lads 4 and Hot Wheels. I play with Hot Wheels. Yeah. And we line all the cars up, and I end up lining them up in, these are the sports cars, these are the trucks, and he's like, Daddy, what's this? And I'm like, that's a Lamborghini, and what's that? Oh, don't worry about that, son. It's fine. You want to drive one of these ones, when you're older, right? And of course, he's 4, so he's got no other pressures of life apart from eating and sleeping. And I hope he maintains that, because his dad likes cars, right? Although I'm driving a Fiat 500 downstairs, because I don't actually have one at the moment, so that's my mother's. But, there are bits in life, and you're right, it's whatever that is. It doesn't have to be a car, it could be anything. It could be clothing, yes, could be a house, could be whatever it is. If I think if people have those aspirations and they have that desire to achieve, it should be celebrated to a degree. And my question about entrepreneurs: do you think entrepreneurs need a pat on the back along the way, or do you think they have that self?
I think they have the self-resilience. Actually, I think it's to be an entrepreneur because you get such a beating permanently.
I remember. Sorry, I remember Stephen Bartlett because I've watched him a few times, and I remember one of the things I've told this to Paul several times, that to be successful now and maybe through social media, you've got to be prepared to be called a cunt.
Yeah.
Right, probably quite on a regular basis.
Yeah.
To a degree, and that's sad in a way, you know. But I suppose it's the world we live in.
It's the world we live in.
That's the easy thing to say, isn't it? But I think that's why I asked about, you know, I think that's why we've gone to America as our own business, because is the land of opportunity, and that's why I asked you the question about would you do it again? Would you do it somewhere else? Because there might not be those.
But I think fundamentally the reason people are not going to like is the basis is jealousy ultimately. But I also think it comes down to certainly our generation has been taught, and rightfully so, that you can accomplish anything that you want. You can be anything you want to be. Doesn't matter your sex, race, age, whatever it is. You can become anything that you want to be, and that's true. I believe by that. But what we've also taught people is that because of that, you can be special. Everyone has got the right to be special, and they have. But to be special, you've got to be good at something. So you can be special because you're the fastest 100-metre sprinter. You can be special because you built a company that sends rockets up to the moon. You can be special because you've accomplished something, whether you're a famous actor or actress, whatever it is, you can be special, but you've got to work your arse off to get there. But the sad thing is people believe they can be special without doing anything.
Yeah.
And so then, this is where you get these comments, because you get people who they want to be special because of something, so they'll pick a defining characteristic and say, well, I'm special because... And then you go down the baselines. Well, I'm special because I'm a woman. I'm special because I'm a man. I'm special because I am black. I'm special because I am white. I'm special because I'm LGBTQ. And then you pick something, and then you've got these big divisions that go on, because we live in this bipolar world at the moment where you're not allowed to have a balanced opinion on anything. You're not allowed to have it. It's either you're with us or you're against us. And this is where you get all this divisiveness. So you will have people who, like you're talking about Steve Bartlett or any of these people, where they'll be, I don't like him, he's an arsehole, just because that's my view. And my view is this, I don't like rich people. And it's like, what you can't, so there can't be a nice rich person? No. And it's because they want to be identify and be special, like I'm special because I am this person. And I think that is a problem with media. I mean, I suppose it spirals back to what we're talking about, TikTok and media and stuff, but it's tough out there, isn't it?
Yeah. I think I've just written around the world, used the word special, and I suppose I put niche, because I remember growing up thinking, you know what, you want to be able to sell to everybody and everything, right? And that's the way to do it, and en masse and all that. But actually, I think now, and with the evolution of social media and online shops and drop shipping and all that, you can be there's market for everybody out there. And if you do it, if you work your arse off and you do something really well, that niche market can still hit all your aspirations and all your goals, whatever they may, more than ever.
Yes.
I think now.
Yeah.
Right, because it's out there.
Because niches can be bigger now because of the internet, can't they?
Yeah, and they can be worldwide.
Yeah, like you look like at TV, like it used to be the 4 channels, whereas now there's like hundreds of channels. There's tons of programs, so you can be famous to your niche. You know, you can be famous. If you watch, like you say, I think we were talking about it earlier, weren't we? If you watch like Game of Thrones and you're Jon Snow, everyone knows who you are. You never watched Game of Thrones, you don't have a clue who this person is. No. And that's on a big niche scale. Yeah. If you're talking about, there's people now watching this that maybe watch, I don't know, fishing videos on YouTube, and I'm sure there's some mega big celebrities in the fishing community. I'm not into it, so I won't know. On YouTube, if they walked in to a fishing conference...
Robson Green.
Well, yeah. But to a fishing conference, they'd be like, oh my God, these are superstars. Yeah. 99% of people have not a clue who they are. And that's what kind of the point of what I suppose you always want to be like with your marketing and stuff like that. You want to be famous to a few people. You want to be mega famous in your niche, or niche if we're talking to Americans. Yeah. But you do, don't you? You want to be mega, mega famous to that area. And that's, I suppose, why as well it's not a problem having opinions. So the fact that people, you could call Steve Bartlett or call these people, whatever, it doesn't matter because he's probably going to his niche. Yeah. And so it doesn't matter because people that aren't that won't like you. But that's fine. That's fine. The people who are into fishing, they'll love whatever the top YouTuber is on fishing. People who don't like killing fish, they'll hate them.
Yeah,
but that's fine. They're not my audience, are they?
No.
They're not my audience.
No, but they can reach you just as easily, though.
They can. Yeah. It's that thing, isn't it? The stuff you're putting out isn't for everyone, but people will be offended. And it's like, well, it's not for you, is it, this stuff? It's not.
So don't watch it.
No, but they do, don't they? In itself, again, come back to people being special. They'll sit there and be angry at the world. Like they're angry at, they'll sit and watch Top Gear or something, or Grand Tour. I'm angry because you're damaging the planet. Why are you watching it then? Why are you watching something that makes you angry? And people do that all day long, don't they? They'll read stuff that makes them upset. They'll watch things that makes them angry.
Yeah, you should be spending more time doing something you love.
Yeah, find something you love rather than worrying about.
That could be a TV program, right?
Yeah, of course it could be anything. Yeah. And these days with niches, you could make money from that. So if your big passion was, I don't know, Game of Thrones, for example, that was the thing. You absolutely love Game of Thrones. Set up an online shop selling Game of Thrones stuff. Do a Game of Thrones blog or a Game of Thrones set of TikTok videos. There'd be a way of making money, monetizing it.
That's just reminded me of Twitch.
Twitch, the gaming one.
Yeah, and imagine you mentioned something when you first started, and it reminded me of Elon Musk, only because I've watched his documentary again. When was it Zip2 or VIP2? What was his first business that he sold? Wasn't it Zip2?
Yes, it was a mapping one.
Something like that. Yeah, where you could an online directory type of thing. And I suppose there was probably a moment with your bit where you could have done something a little bit more like that. Right, and then sold it and done what he'd done. And we should maybe have documentaries about you one day if you'd ever done that.
Yeah, but I think if you look at Elon Musk or anyone like me, it's having focus. That's one thing I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners that are wanting to get going, and having that focus. Again, find out the thing that you love to do and focus on it. Tiger Woods may have also enjoyed football. He may have also enjoyed online gaming. He may have also enjoyed Game of Thrones. He may have also enjoyed quite a lot of things. Right. And actually, what most people do is they do a bit of everything and become a jack of all trades, master of none. He found the thing he really loved to do and he focused on it. He really focused on it. Like I did with EKM. I could have at any point when I was doing EKM gone, well, we'll also do a bit of bespoke websites. We'll also do some PPC marketing. We'll also do this. We'll also open an online shop selling bakery goods. We'll also, and it's like, and you could have done that. And maybe one of those could have gone massive, but it would have distracted us from that core thing. And people forget that. So when you're talking about Elon Musk and stuff, you forget that he didn't just one day at the start go right, well, I'm launching, I'm 16-year-old Elon Musk, I'm launching a space company. He didn't. He did one thing, sold it, then he moved on to another thing and focused on it. Then he did PayPal or X.com, didn't he? And then he bought into Tesla. Because this is the thing, he's like he wasn't a founder of Tesla, he bought into Tesla. But these people, you forget that having that focus on that thing that you love to do, that's how you do it. You can't have, it's great to have lots of passions, but you don't want to be a jack of all trades. You've got to focus on something.
My point about Twitch was, you could be a kid playing home. Just if you video you playing Fortnite, you can suddenly stick it on YouTube and you could be a multi-millionaire.
Can you imagine telling your teachers that, or your parents when we were kids? I mean, if you'd said to your careers advisor, what do you want to do? I'm going to play Mario and get paid for it. And they'd be like, get real, Anthony, you need to get a job. Quick say Ferrari and go and get a job stacking shelves. And like now, those people that focused on online gaming, multi-millionaires. They're multi-millionaires, these professional gamers, they make a fortune. And this is the thing, you can't let someone who's not achieved it tell you that you can't do it. Because there's so many opportunities that like we are not aware of it. There are things that kids are doing now, and we're like metaverse, things like that, Roblox, all this sort of stuff, where there's going to be serious money to be made, careers to be made, and people that can spend life doing something that they love.
And do you think that is just the evolution? And we was talking to Joey, who's behind the camera, about what our grandparents would have seen, planes. The first time. It's just the same thing.
Of course it is,
It's just moving on, isn't it?
Yeah. Of course it is, but you've got to be open to embrace this stuff, and I think accepting a change is a thing that most people struggle with. Don't like change.
No.
And that's what's happening now, and you've got to embrace it, and you've got to look at it. I mean, you talk about like, obviously, when I did EKM, my biggest thing back in the early 2000s was convincing people they needed to sell on the internet. I don't need to sell on the internet. My customers won't be buying on internet. Not internet, not for us, lad, not for us. I can't see it. And it's like people will be buying. Nah. And you're almost a conspiracy theorist because of it. You almost were a conspiracy theorist. Like I'm telling you now, lad, people are not going to be putting the credit cards in on the internet. And it's like, they will. No, conspiracy theories. And that's almost like where we are today. So even like my kids, like my daughter's, like she's designing and selling clothes on Roblox, and you make real money doing it. And you say that to people even of our age, and like, what? You can make money doing that? And we had a guy that used to work for us, and at the interview or something, he was talking to us, and he said, "I don't mind, I have another job as well." I'm like, "What do you mean you've got another job?" He's like, "Well, yeah, I work as a security guard. Is it any problem?" I'm like, "Well, I suppose not. What does it involve?" So I start at 7 and I work till about 11 o'clock at night. What are you doing security guarding? Where are you working? Oh, on an intergalactic spaceship. And you're like, what? And you get paid. What is it? What? And he did. And he had a job guarding a 250-man spaceship in a game. And he had to run the defense systems on it. And he got paid for it. I remember. Even before that, when
that just blew my mind, by the way.
Yeah, it's crazy. This is happening now. I remember years ago when World of Warcraft, which is like an online game, when that first came out, we used to play it at EKM. All of us used to play it at work, and I paid £100 for a horse. £100 real money, and everyone like, what? Yeah. It saved me time and effort. I'd be like, it's crazy. Now people are making these digital products, these digital things, and selling them, and people are buying them, and people are earning money from it. So when you're talking about like the youth of today, they're now in a situation where they can come and get a job. They can go set up in Starbucks and work for a couple of grand a month, or they could go and play an online game and earn the same amount of money. And it's like, well, what do you think they're going to rather do?
They'll do what they love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But because we don't understand it, it's just stupid. But what I was doing was stupid to people back in the day.
Going back to EKM briefly at the sort of the start, saying that you were more of a coder, let's say. So
yeah,
what did you do to sort of market the brand of EKM? Were there any silly things you did, fun things, bad things?
So I was always a coder. I was always a programmer. That's what I saw myself. I was always loved business, but I was always a coder, and I enjoyed business. I wasn't a marketer. I wasn't a salesperson.
Do you think it's a dark art?
What marketing? Dark art.
Digital marketing.
There's nothing that's a dark. I hate that term, dark art. I think people who call things dark art are trying to sell you something.
Yeah.
Because it's a dark art. Only I can do this. It's like
there's almost
there's
promo
nothing.
products you need.
Yeah. Because I mean, you probably picked it up already in what I've been saying. I do genuinely believe that anyone can do anything that they want in life. You know, fair enough. If you're 5 foot tall, you're not going to be a basketball player. Yeah. There's certain restrictions there. Yeah. But I think if you find that thing that you love to do, you can be anything you want to be. You know, Tiger Woods ain't special, Steve Jobs ain't special, Elon Musk ain't special, Bill Gates ain't special. None of them are special. This is the thing, we get convinced that these people are special. They've got like godlike, they're not the normal people. They found something that they love to do. So anyone could do anything that they want, really.
Yeah. So tell me, what was your first marketing campaign?
So first marketing campaign, well, say I wasn't a marketer, but I knew I could learn it. I knew I could learn how to do marketing and sales. So my first marketing campaign was actually, I got £1,500 saved up after I got a few customers. This was only a couple of customers, and I got £1,500 saved up. I think one of my aunties must have died or something like that. I had £1,500, and I think I spent that on various things. Not £150. Sorry. I think £1,500 would be a lot of money back then. I had £150 that I got, whether it was Christmas money or something. I had this money, and I spent it on a fax campaign. Now, for some younger people watching, they won't know what a fax machine even is. Okay, so it's like a spam email account, but actually to fax machines. And it was £150, and it was my last money I had in the business. And I paid, and it sent this campaign out, and it went out I think at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it went out. And all day I was sat next to this fax machine thinking someone's going to come back on this, Nothing came back. No. At 5:30, 5:29, I was ready to go home. The fax machine started going, and I thought, I've got one, it came through, and it was from Mickey Mouse at Disneyland. Someone just filled it in just to taking me, and I was distraught. It was like that on my last £150.
Have you even got spam through fax?
Yeah, spam through fax. Yeah, it just spammed loads of people. It didn't work. And I realised that this was in that vicious circle of that 4 years before I took the first member of the team on, that I needed money to invest in marketing to get me customers, so I could put more into marketing, get more customers. And I got that it was a cycle. I needed money to pump into marketing, that money in marketing would get me customers I could then keep, and it's a spiral, isn't it?
Even back then, there wasn't the Googles of the world.
AdWords had just come out, and it was proper new, really simple, really easy to use. It was amazing, it was lovely, but it cost money. And I had no money, and so I had to just keep trying to scrimp and save and do websites for people to get by. And so whenever I got any money, I'd do it. And I think I must have done a website for somebody, and I must have had a couple of £1,000, and I put it all into Google AdWords, and it brought me customers in. And I'm like, this is amazing. No one knew what AdWords even was. No one had a clue what it was, and I'm like, this is amazing. You put it in, and so from that point onwards, it was like marketing. Everything were going on this Google AdWords and making the landing pages. You didn't have the analytics like you do now, but we were doing everything on there. And so I learned how to do marketing. I'd spend literally my evenings reading about marketing, reading like all the webmaster sites, all the things and how to do it. And you have to learn the whole business. You have to learn how to sell. Never sold.
No. But do you think that's the beauty of an entrepreneur, is always there to add further skills to their skills?
Yeah, because I think most entrepreneurs believe they can do anything. Because no one's going to tell, and people will tell them they can't, but they won't believe them. So I believe you can do anything you want. I remember reading books about like Steve Jobs and stuff, and they said he had like a warped sense. They give it a term, didn't they? Like he saw the world different to everyone else because he ignored anything he didn't like. It's like he just like duck off a water's back, water off a duck's back. Just ignored it. He had his own version. And I think Elon Musk and people are the same. And I think I am. It's just there's nothing that I don't think I can do. So obviously as time went on, your cars and things, I got into flying planes and stuff, which we were talking about before. And I remember when I went to learn to fly planes, I got told time and time again, entrepreneurs don't make good pilots. You're never going to be able to fly a plane. And it's like,
because you're crazy?
Yeah. It turns out you can. Anyone can learn to fly. Anyone can learn how to fly a plane. It's not that difficult. Requires a few hours of practice and stuff. You can do it. And I remember even as time went on, we bought a yacht at one point. We had a yacht for a fair few years. I sold it just before COVID, actually. It timed quite well. We had this yacht, and I remember we hadn't done sailing licenses or anything. I had no idea how to sail. Not into boats. I always wanted a yacht. I was up there on the picture thing that I always wanted. And me and Alison, my wife, we went to we'd already bought it. We bought it, and then we worried about how we'd actually sail it. And we went to Gibraltar to do our sailing license. And I remember we got there, and the skipper that were teaching us came over to speak to us and said, right, okay, so you've come to do your skipper license. Yeah, you've got your helmsman and your competent crew, have you? No, don't know what that even is.
No.
You've got a lot of boating experience, haven't you? No. Right, okay. They tell me in the office that you've actually gone and bought yourself a boat. What have you got? It says 62-foot azimuth yacht. And he just walked off. He walked off and left us. And we're just like, what's going on? And he came back about 10 minutes later and said, look, the thing is, there is no way you two will... I mean, at this time as well, Alison was about 30-odd weeks pregnant. She had a massive bump as well. They said, there's no way that you're going to skipper a boat yourselves. Not without boating experience. Never, ever. You're going to have to get a crew. But I'll do it with you. 3 days later, signed us off. We're fine. Sailed ourselves all the time. Fine. But again, that's another example. It doesn't matter how much money you have or you don't have, how much success you have or haven't got. People will always tell you it can't be done. They'll tell you can't do it. Can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do the other, you can't do that. Da, da, da. And I strongly believe everyone can do anything that they want to do if they really want to. There'll be people watching this go, oh, well, go and be an astronaut then. I'll be an astronaut. Yeah. It's like, but you don't really want to.
No.
You're just saying it. If you did genuinely want to be an astronaut, probably at this point in our lifetime, it's probably one of the best times ever to become an astronaut because there's tons of space companies probably looking for astronauts. So you could be an astronaut.
It's not just NASA.
But I do believe that there is opportunities for everyone to do anything they want to do if you want to do it.
I'm intrigued, just to go back. Do you know what your PPC budget was towards the end of the EKM?
Oh, towards the end?
Yeah.
It was a lot. We always used to spend a percentage of our sales. It was always a percentage of our sales. I think when we're aggressively growing, I think it was like 20%.
Right.
Like literally 20% more. Almost everything we're going back into marketing to aggressively grow it.
Yeah.
I think as the business got bigger, it went down.
Yeah.
More and more.
Need it so much.
Yeah, but it was always a noticeable. It was a big budget.
Well, they've always said 10%, right?
Yeah.
That was one of those old advertising moments. You used to spend 10% of your turnover on marketing, right? But I suppose in this day and age, it's slightly different, and I wouldn't expect to see EKM on a sandwich board, someone walking down the road, but I might expect, the local bakery to do that type of thing.
Yeah.
But now, with EKM as business, you'd expect it all to be online, expect it to be digital.
Yeah, you would.
There's an anticipation of that. But they can do the same thing.
Yeah,
right? They can do exactly the same thing. But actually, there's stereotype in the old days of a sandwich board might actually be better for them because they need local business. You don't always go onto the internet and go, where's my local bakery, or where can I get the best cinnamon bun? Necessarily, you might do, but hopefully you've written a blog about it.
No.
But that sandwich board might just have the same impact as spending £1,000 on
probably
Google.
Would. And I tell you what, when you talk about like impact of marketing in terms of brand awareness and things like that, we did you ever come up to our office in Preston? No. So we decided, this idea of love what you do, that went through everything that we did at EKM. So in terms of we help customers to spend life doing something that they love through setting up an online shop. We also made sure that everyone who worked at EKM loved what they did. And I'd stand up every single big meeting and say, look, if you don't love it here, the door's there, leave. I want you to love it here. I genuinely do, make it a place where you want to be. And so obviously pre-COVID and everything like that, we invested a lot into the environment. And we built like an office up in Preston. We spent like £3.5 million on this office. We had like a 3-story slide in it, free food and stuff like that. I'd like to say it was the inspiration for everything Brandon's offices.
But we haven't got the slide yet.
I haven't got the slide. But I think it was the same interior designer actually in both offices. Yeah. But we spent a real lot of effort to make it a place where people would love to be. And that was great because as a business, you're not only trying to attract customers, you're trying to attract people to work for you. So when you're marketing and selling, you're not selling just to customers, you're selling to people to join your team as well. Yeah. And so that straight away helped us attract people. And if we can attract the best possible people, we're already winning anyway. Yeah. But in terms of marketing, to get the brand out, building that fancy office, investing into promotional products, because you don't think this stuff works. And I'm not just saying this because I do these blogs, well, I don't. We made sure we bought, and Paul knows very well because he used to have to speak to Alison all the time. She was very, very insistent on that any products that we had, promotional with the top quality, decent ones, nothing cheap. Because if it's a cheap nasty pen or a cheap nasty cup, that says everything about your business. So it was always, we always used to ask for all the samples off you guys. I want the best one. If we didn't like it, no, it's got to be better than that. It's got to be the best one. And it was having this world-class office with world-class people, world-class branding, world-class, like say, giveaways, world-class... Everyone who came in had books. And even now, you see people walking around with EKM books. You guys are the printer. Everything branded. And it was everything about being world-class. And that's what put EKM on the map in our local area. And when you're talking about earlier about why Preston, we built a world-class place in Preston so that the people in Preston, in that area, and everyone who works in that office, realise that they are world-class. Because I think it's very hard to believe that you're world-class when you're up northwest. You think world class is Silicon Valley. You think world class is London. It's not. World class it's in there. Tiger Woods was probably world class when he was practicing. And that's what all that kind of came together to put us on the map locally. And I think most people in the local area, when you speak to them, they know us from all that branding that actually put us as a presence. Because actually digital companies, which is where you kind of saying about it, a guy in his bedroom, which it was me, and I benefit from that, can mark it out there as if they're a big multinational company. But it's having credibility these days, and actually having a big fancy office. I mean, these sort of places like this, it gives you credibility because you're not someone in your back bedroom. You actually, it's a real place with real world-class people, and that makes a massive difference. It really does.
Did you find a byproduct of having world-class office, world-class stuff? A bit like Google, and I've only had some experience working at Amazon. You find that if you've got nice offices and they actually stay longer, work longer, more hours, and that's just a byproduct of it. Not to say that wasn't your goal.
Oh no, it probably was part of the goal. Let's be honest. I knew before we even did it, I did my research. I went round to Google's offices in California, been to the ones in Dublin. I spoke to the people involved in it. And why do you have a big slide? And even they said, it's a bit of a gimmick. People go down it a few times, but everyone talks about it. And that's what happens at our place. And why you spend half your life at work? Why would you not want to be in a place that's better than someone's home? If it's somewhere beautiful, people are going to come in and they're going to stay there and they're going to work hard. Of course they are. Whereas most businesses, it's a little white box with nothing but a brew kitty to look forward to. Maybe lottery on a Wednesday. Look forward to lottery. A brew kitty, because you can't have free coffee and milk. Heaven forbid. People bring their own milk and put it in the drawers. A box of bourbons hidden in someone's. It's like, that's not a nice place to be. And so no wonder. With what's happened over the last couple of years, people don't want to go back into work because the place where they're working is shit. Why would you want to go back into one of them places? Whereas when you have a place that's like this, this is better than most people's homes.
Yes.
So it's like, why would you not want to come in
We've
here?
had people sleep here overnight, don't we?
Yeah, why would you not want to come here? And EKM was the same, a place where people would want to be.
Yes.
And of course people love working at home, of course they do. And EKM, we embrace remote working and stuff, but why should we? It absolutely comes back to what I was saying earlier. Why would you not want the best for yourself and for your own people and stuff? Why would you choose not to work in a rubbish place? You wouldn't.
No.
If you could choose, you would choose to work in a really smart place, which is why people look at Google and play. First thing when you talk about Google, people always go, "Oh, yeah, it'd be well smart to work there."
Yeah.
Why do you think that? Well, because I've seen pictures of their cool offices, and it's kind of like, because you want to work somewhere nice. Everyone does, and everyone deserves that.
Yeah. And to be fair, when you say it, Anty, sometimes I know you say it with quite a lot of passion, which is great. It sounds quite easy. I know it's not. But I suppose it's not always when you're starting out.
No.
But I think if you've got that goal of trying to create a world, it doesn't matter if it takes you 5 minutes to 5 years to 50 years, you're going to go on that journey, like you talked about right at the start, and you'll love it, and hopefully the people will love
come
it.
with you,
will come with you on that journey because they know that's that end goal.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, it's not just a case of, I know people watching this go, well, it's all right, we can't afford to put a 3-story slide in, or even a football table. Yeah. It's not about that. It's just having a nice environment where people are treated with respect, and it's a nice, pleasant place to be, not a dump, not a horrible place to work where people are treated like adults, where they're allowed to be human beings. It's not like they're all like cracking the whip, shut up, get back to work, no talk, fun police walking around, no fun. Like, you walk around here, everyone's out enjoying himself, it's fun.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about, but there's still that mentality of people that go, no, work isn't supposed to be fun. It's work. Yeah. It's work. You're not supposed to enjoy work. If you say, well, you're not supposed to enjoy work, are you? Work's work. It's like, no. Because if you can fill your business with people who love what they do and don't see it as work, you're going to have an amazing company and a lot of customers, and that's that is surely what the aim
lottery,
is,
isn't it?
So why would you even want to continue that farce of people working for you who don't like it? They don't love what they do. If this was full of people who don't like what they do, and it was full of people reminding them that you're at work, you're not supposed to enjoy it, how's that going to feed onto customers? How's it going to feed onto review websites? How's it going to feed onto the growth of this business? Whereas if you can fill it full of people who love what they do,
it filters down.
It's infectious.
Yeah,
it's infectious, and it's very easy for me to say this, and it's easy to listen to. It's hard in practice, but God, is it worth it?
It's the small things. Like it's like having tea and coffee. Being able to have your breakfast I can have a breakfast there, it's great. I haven't got to do that at home. That's one thing I haven't got to. I can sort my kids out. I haven't got to do it. I can do it when I get to work. Or it might be that there's a vending machine, or there's something else. It's often the small things that are the bit always. Well, it's life in general, right?
Yeah.
Often the small things have the biggest impact. I don't necessarily need a slide, but maybe I wouldn't mind that carpet being changed or a different colour and something that's nice, or having a reception area.
Yeah.
Or having a TV on the wall, or something. It's small, right?
Small things.
Having a promotional gift, right? Having your own name on a name or a name on a notebook. It's the little things
that make a big difference.
Very true.
And it just bits of effort. It's like when I came here today. Like, you've got my name on a screen. I can give you a picture. A bit embarrassing, but
it's a good one.
But it's nice. Yeah, but it's nice. It shows that someone's gone to some effort. Someone's gone and done that, and it shows effort. It's attention to detail. It makes you feel special. It's having your name up on the screen or something. It's the same reason why they always say, like with Starbucks, why they write your name on the cup. It's yours, isn't it? It's bespoke. It's like, it's just simple things like that.
Small. Yeah.
Where most people wouldn't have like that, putting some names up. That's effort. That's hassle. So most people, it's too much. I can't be bothered with that. It'd be right. Like, everything's hassle. But if you want to get anywhere in life, you've got to push through the hassle, haven't you?
You do. Right, moving on slightly, because I think I'm not timing this, but I'm sure it's been long enough. But so success has, I suppose, been able to spawn some other activities in life, flying being one of them. But you also have a real estate business, right, and also a private fund management company. Now, again, is that you, or is it a team of you? Are they both things that obviously you love to do? That's why you're doing them. But Are you having the same? Do you want the same journey for both of those as you had with EKM?
So when we sold the business, obviously I've been doing it for 20 years. So it's like a life sentence, isn't it? Really, that 20. We've been doing it for a long time, and as anyone watching this who's an entrepreneur knows, that you wake up thinking about your business and you go to bed thinking about it. It's all consuming. So when we sold it, we said we kind of wanted to have a good 6 months break.
I know we did. 6 months is hilarious though to think, okay, I'll have 6 months off, right? And then I'm back on the gravy train.
6 months off. So we're trying to do that, but at the same time, while we've always done EKM, we've always had a property business, because I'm a big believer in that. When you look at most mega successful people, they don't live off the primary income source. They live off a secondary or third income source. So you imagine most, and this is when if I could talk back to my younger self, I would have said to my younger auntie, this is what you need to be doing. Where you take the money from your primary business, you invest it into slower assets like properties, maybe stocks and shares, whatever it is, and then you live off that income. It gives you a safety net, and it also expands your overall wealth as well, because you've got multiple things. Now, it's easier said than done. I get that. So we've always had the property business, which is like various residential properties. It's got some like holiday lets at Windermere, things like that, which, to be fair, my wife, Alison, she tends to manage the residential and that side of things. We also have commercial properties. So obviously the big fancy office in Preston, we still have that rented out. And we have another one that's a nursery now. And we're looking for more properties. It's a good time to. I think at the moment you've got to be like a bit like a spear fisherman, especially over the next 12 months, like a spear fisherman. Because like a spear fisherman, I keep talking about fishing. I am not into fishing at all. So if a fishing person say that's not what spear fishermen do at all. But you'll stand in a river with a spear in your hand, and you'll wait. And you can wait for hours for that opportune moment to strike. And I think that's the environment we're in today. So with all the stuff that's going on in the world, it's just a case of sitting back and watching where opportunities are, and then if you see one,
go for it,
get it, go for it, and that's kind of what we're doing with that. The other thing that I got really into over the last few years anyway, and doing it for about 4 or 5 years, is like your investments, like stocks and shares, your funds, things like real estate investment trust, things like that. I've always enjoyed doing that, and so I'm a bit freer now to do that. So I set up my own private fund doing that.
That bit of your coder in you coming back out, with it.
Possibly, with all numbers on screen. It's probably actually. I was talking to someone the other day about it. It's probably actually an inner coder in that it's a bit solitary, sat behind a screen. There is an element of that, which I did always enjoy. I did always enjoy that. There is an element of that. Whether it engages the other side, if you like, going talking, because I do think it is important to. You have to be reminded of it sometimes. Even me, it is important to share these stories and talk about. For all of us, because we've got we've all got knowledge of things that we know that's up here. That if you're not spreading it, you're not helping younger generation or other people that are going through it, are you?
Well, in a way, you should be, right?
Yeah, you should be. Yeah,
and even I'm within my level managing a team here. The whole point of me being here is to give them some insight into what I've learned.
Yeah,
that's the whole point. Otherwise, I could just do it myself.
Yeah, everybody does. Everybody does. You imagine like even the setup in here, like the guys behind the screens here, their knowledge should be shared. It should be shared. You could help other people who want to get into doing podcasts or video work. Everyone has got something. If what they're doing they love to do, they know it. They know it, and they should be sharing that. And actually, that's infectious as well, because it encourages you to be better. Yeah. Because if you know you're standing on stage or standing in front of people talking about how to be the best manager or the best film person or audio person, whatever it is, you need to know your stuff. Yeah. So it kind of forces it as well. Yeah. Pretty much just doing.
You're excited by that, but you say 6 months off, but you're not really.
No, we're still busy. I mean, time seems to be flying by. Really.
What have you done? So what have you done in the last few months, or what are you planning in the next 6 months that isn't work related, that you may have never done before, that gives you a bit of headspace?
That we haven't done before.
Because you said the word time off. Now,
yes,
I appreciate for an entrepreneur that's difficult.
Yes,
right,
it is.
To switch, but hopefully there's something that you might be on a bucket list, or something that you've not done. It could be a place to visit that you've done or going to do in the next 6 months, so you don't regret it.
Yeah. No, fair point. It's funny, like when we sold the business, the thing that we always really loved to do, me, Alice and the kids, was to travel. And the irony was we sold it when obviously COVID and stuff was on, but you couldn't travel. Kind of like, it's just like, yeah, great, we've sold when we can't do what we want to do. We've started traveling again and going away, which is really good. But we would have been doing that anyway. It's funny because it's not, when you sell your business after such a long time, it's not like a lottery win where your life has suddenly changed. Because I was all right before, and I'm all right now. It's not. There's not like a big like, oh my God, I've just come into loads of money, and my life is totally like you would if you were a lottery winner. Yeah. So in that regard, there's nothing like drastic like that that's actually changed. I'm able now to, in the morning, not have to spend 2 hours doing emails, which is really nice. So that's like liberating.
Not taking those calls either at one.
Yeah. So there's bits that's liberating in that way. In terms of things that I've done that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise, I'm struggling really with that. I am struggling with it because it's just...
There's nothing on your list, a bucket list in your
head. That now I can...
Not that you now can do.
Well, no, because I do stand by my values. I think we always have. Me and Alison and the kids, we've always stood by the values. It's this that, you know, life's too short not to love what you do every day. And we have loved what we do. We do stuff. We don't defer our happiness. We never have. We've never put something off. We've never said, like, well, we'll put off this holiday until we retire or until we sell the business, or we won't get this yacht until we sell the business. We won't get a plane. We won't do this. We won't do that. We won't do this with the kids. We won't spend this weekend doing this. We've never done that. So I've not deferred anything. I've never, because life's too short. We've never deferred anything. So there isn't like this book. If we had something on our bucket list of things that we desperately wanted to do, we would have probably already done it, or it will be on the route to getting done. So there's not anything we've been saving up, because again, that's what people do when they're saving up for retirement. When I retire, I'll do this big trip.
The rainy day syndrome.
And you never know. You don't know what's going to happen, do you?
True. No.
I mean, if any, the last 2 years has shown us that what happens if you defer stuff. You know, if you think, well, I'll take that trip next year. And how many people would have been like, yeah, I'm deferring this lifetime trip, or we're deferring getting married for a few years. And then the funniest thing happened, we tried to get married when COVID was on and we couldn't get married. And how many people have deferred their lives? And so we do try to live... It's planned and organised. It's not just like total random, like, I'm jumping out of a plane tomorrow. It's planned. But yeah, there isn't anything that I don't think I've not deferred anything, deferred any happiness.
Okay. Well, I'll think of something and let you know what you should be doing before you get back into the...
throw myself back into
it. I've got one last question, because I wanted to ask this to you, and I did mention it before. So, obviously, what was it like when you've spent 20 years building the business and someone rings you and says, Anthony, I'd like to buy you?
Scary.
Yeah.
Scary. But after 20 years, I felt like the business needs to be bigger than just me. I think the business needs to go on without me and grow without me and give opportunities to people within it. And so it just felt like the right time to do it. It really did. It just felt like the right time. We'd had the 2 years of lockdowns and COVID and everything, and I'd done it for 20 years. It was perfect timing for us as a family, and everything that was going on in the world. And I think now it can go on, hopefully, to bigger and better things without me. I think it's like letting your children go. It got to 20 years old. 20 years old, it probably needs to leave the house now and go and do its own thing. Do you know what I mean? I'll let it stay for its, when it's 18 and 19, becoming you're 20 now, you need to go up into the world.
Problem is the kids, they're like boomerangs. I've done it. I've moved back 5 times in my life, but we never know.
You never know. You never know.
Wasn't it Bebo that people sold it to Yahoo for something?
And then it came back.
So you never. Well, hopefully that won't happen.
Like I say, I'm rooting for him.
And I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. I have no idea how long that was on for.
No.
For once, I didn't have my watch, but really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.